Faden, China, 14th century day. I passed through a mountain clearing many years ago. All is quiet. The hills are green, obscured by a heavy mist hanging in the air. Then, a crunching of bamboo. The trees whisper, unveiling a secret, hidden community. The mist swirls and figures emerge. Chinese peasants, gently huddled and gathering crops. They're peaceful families working together. A family turns to a child and we're surprised to see a horn on the back of his head. A large ram-like protuberance. The girl looks up and she too has a horn. All of his villagers have horns. They're some kind of half-mythical, half-human creatures. But then, in the distance, a rumbling. Everyone looks up, startled. The noise becomes a pounding of horse hooves. Mothers hug their children. Suddenly, Mongolian warriors in flaming red robes charge the hill. An army of fighters brandishing mighty swords. The horned people screech in terror. The Mongols barrel in and mercilessly swing their blades. Everyone's a target. Men, women, and children. Bodies fall. The soldiers brutally pillage the remains and slice off the horns. The trophies get tossed into sacks. The dead bodies turn to dust. Panicked, the little people run. Horses thunder after them, muscular and relentless. The people scramble, reaching their village. An idyllic hamlet of huts, set in a field of startling pink and purple flowers. The creatures race into the buildings to hide as the chief warrior pulls out a lit torch. He cruelly throws it at a hut. Whoosh! The tiny building goes up in flames. Victims scream. The sparks jump. Other buildings start blaring. It's chaos. A young horror woman ran frantically. Runs frantically, carrying a basket of the pink purple flowers. She races to a hut and opens the door. A shrill groaning whine, radio signal PMS couldn't match, emerged adjacent. Martin Brackington's open storybook propped on his crisscross leg. Damn it, Millie, knock from now on. Sorry, Martin, my wardrobe seems to have sleepwalked off again. Millie has curly red hair and wore a blue frock today. Either way, she was going to have interaction today. It didn't come in here. It has no arms, nor eyes, nor interest, nor time, nor room within which to read nor keep books. Martin Brackington was an older fellow with blonde hair. Today he wore a black suit and a white dress shirt and cufflinks. For some reason he had on his shoes. About to finish the book, stepped back inside. May I help you, dear? Since you bothered to open the balcony door? He inquired impatiently. Millie sighed as if defeated. No, and not unless you hear or see it scurrying about on this floor or of the hotel or above. Say, what you reading? Oh, just a fantastical adventure story. He kept his finger marked on the disrupted page and showed her the maroon hardcover. You know that's said to be an old river still. Steel? Catastrophe? Only China substituted. Yeah, like a folklore game of telephone. The curse of Wickerstone set out that many ripple effects. Martin stated dryly, as if she had only come to tell him to wash his clothes in a routine basin. Mind you, in his attempt to get rid of it. The hotel's whole library is chock full of them. You're lucky you didn't find books hungry enough for readers that your finger may be bitten off. Or someone would just tell you it were a paper cut, mister. Martin rolled his eyes as she pointed a finger and frowned amongst melodrama, asking for an encore. Yeah, I've heard that one before. You have to be quiet, or so who's going to know it was before you opened to my page length? Have you seen the wardrobe today or not? Answer and you can keep reading. I'll see one when I believe it. Fat chance when I'm half your age. Now it were Millie's chance to roll her eyes like dice, with better luck next door when her left arm was getting fatigued from carrying the basket of flowers. She closed the door and plucked each flower one by one herself, although they'd otherwise wither and die. It was not on her payroll to be so philosophical, thinking about how admiration was not about possession. Even if it technically would count as hotel property, Millie didn't need so much lack of necessity slowing her pay down. Outside Bob's office, and out of contempt and lack of patience, she unceremoniously dropped the basket next to the one-arm wallpaper hanger to plaster. Where he was, she didn't know. She had not inquired half as much to him about whether he'd been born with or one arm and lost it in a quote-unquote funny in retrospect situation. Millie wasn't ever intentionally summoning inconvenience, so in the heat of her own, she hadn't so much considered, and neither did anybody else. In a day's rush, if they even had time to realize gratitude for a place to fortuitously stay hours or days. So why get attached to anyone who wasn't staff? Most hotels were so mundane that every room looked the same and didn't even provide ovens when it was. All implied a quicker lifestyle, however lavish. At least here she got a sense of personality from the room's beset. Them being in the room watching TV or reading in Mr. Brackington's monochromatic case. Millie had a tendency to think about different people she did not inhabit. In a particular room, housemaid, employee as she was, she just knew at dinner downstairs in the restaurant Bob could roast boast, and she'd just try again to squeeze a lemon juice of sourly taking time for him to eventually reveal how or why, or even rumored whom thought to change and shorten Robert to Bob, or on purpose, or no thanks to dyslexia or otherwise. Bob loves to roast verbally and culinarily, so that once he hunt them down and discovered evidence, he'd be sure to burn them at a steakhouse. Millie thought here and there on one of her daydream loosely constructed distractions. There hadn't been talk that maybe Bob didn't really exist. Maybe he wore the fabled time-quickening quick red shirt from Millie's wardrobe that made him multitask, and go to countries that didn't exist anymore, and enter and exit a room so fast that he would never catch crap for not knocking. Some claim the personalities within the wardrobe displayed an agreed-upon dress-up of personification of the palindrome. Not that Millie had ever laid eyes on the red shirt herself that she was aware of. It was typical to see seemingly a lot of shirts and not give it a second's breaths that they might or might not be the same one in disguise, like how it just feels like socks want a divorce. Or was it MIA or AWOL? Millie was gullible to an absurd point for business reasons. A lot of people checked in that she never laid eyes on again, to her memory, but then she never needed to blacklight gore-soaked rooms or mattresses or sinks for clue prints to a culprit. Maybe it didn't occur enough to Millie to consider routine at the St. Gray. She woke back up one day and realized that was the name of the hotel again. Gossip was always quite the roadrunner, and time went quicker by magic or design. Or things that seemed like it. After a while, even physics was in, and the synonymous gag, even if coincidence wasn't. The lolly lobby of the Hotel St. Grey was often quiet enough that even out of ennui or coincidence, indeed playing the jester out of faith, Millie would happen to be pushing the laundry cart to an elevator, and guests checking in would sound befuddled that they had found the Hotel St. Grey and not the Hotel St. Clay. As they insisted the brochure or building proclaimed the letter not 3 hours or minutes before. And why not? Millie, I recalled from childhood that her mother said her name was spelled with an I-E, and her father that it ended with a Y. Better that newbie guests didn't rely, at least to her ear, that they expect a temple housed within a hotel or vice versa involving clay. That would almost explain why the rooms looked different, if not by way of keycard magic colors. Red was always stop, green was always go. Even that didn't change. We just didn't borrow the time to claim a picture in one of the said rooms or the history of the place was one or the other, any more than it didn't that a chicken was still an egg. Though it might be a mini dinosaur on the side either way. Modernized. This time, saving principle, shirts you wore, and eye color, and how busy you were at what time, from what motivation, was always a prerequisite to grin and nod like they were never wrong. Customer was always right, but never left, and still didn't explain why some came and went as if by Houdini's channel. Millie was lucky considerably to be too preoccupied to check check-ins that didn't involve zeros, so maybe she owed it to herself to start being slithery if called for both ways. Not to mention she was too focused to use hairspray even in a moment of cleaning a room. So how her hair changed color outside and indoors was to take her word for it. Maybe someone was messing with her. Wasn't when she was messing with somebody else. This one time, even the holograph of the hotel's founder, Nathan Arthur Gray, broke character and complimented Millie's redhead, so it was either true or her hair was so flattered and encouraged it stuck and didn't change out of fear of being seen in any other way, in any mirror again. Millie was never sure, for she never exactly asked one follicle's opinion. Millie herself similarly felt like one hair rooted to the hotel's foundation of ever-revolving conditioner.